Ferrari didn't just bring an upgrade to Austria, they brought a confession. A silent one, buried under layers of carefully crafted PR statements and masked behind the usual wind tunnel metrics. But if you know where to look, if you understand the language of Formula One, you'll realise what this really is. Not a refinement, but a reckoning. From the moment the SF25 touched tarmac in Australia, something felt wrong. The numbers said one thing, but the onboard footage whispered something darker. A car unstable in low-speed corners, unpredictable through medium-speed transitions, and choking on its own ride height compromises. Now, in the hills of Spielberg, Ferrari is finally showing its hand. Not in dramatic fashion, of course. Publicly, it's just a new flaw. But behind closed doors, insiders describe it as a philosophical reboot. The kind of overhaul that doesn't happen unless a team realises its car is fundamentally broken. 11 races into the season, with no wins and no real answers, Ferrari has reached its tipping point. This isn't just another update before Silverstone. It's a test of belief in the car, in the leadership, in the legacy. For Lewis Hamilton, this flaw could determine whether his move to Maranello was redemption or resignation. For Charles Leclerc, it's the last chance to salvage hope from a season already slipping through his fingers. And for Ferrari as a whole, the Austrian Grand Prix will not be remembered for podiums or points, but for truth finally laid bare in carbon and silence. At first glance, the new flaw doesn't scream revolution. There are no dramatic winglets or obvious geometric shifts. But look closer, not at the shapes, but at the intent. Ferrari's upgrade in Austria targets two critical failure points that have haunted the SF25 since its debut: aeromechanical instability and platform unpredictability. On paper, the flaw now features a reshaped edge profile designed to better manage turbulent airflow as the car pitches through corners. In reality, it's an admission that the old flaw was never sealing correctly, bleeding downforce the moment the chassis moved even slightly off its ideal ride height. At Spielberg, with its blend of sharp traction zones and medium-speed sweeps, that flaw was a time bomb. The previous flaw forced Ferrari to run a higher ride height just to avoid instability, but that robbed them of aerodynamic efficiency and sent tyre temperatures spiralling out of sync. The new flaw, insiders claim, uses reinforced channels and reshaped Venturi contours to regain control under yaw and pitch, essentially smoothing the platform without compromising the aerodynamic window. It's not about chasing peak downforce anymore, it's about predictability. Lewis Hamilton requested these changes post-Imola, citing inconsistent rear grip on corner exit and unpredictable load transfer under braking. Engineers Diego Tondi and Loic Serra didn't just tweak stiffness metrics. They rewrote the car's foundational philosophy to deliver stable feedback through varying load states. And that decision, to prioritize driver confidence over theoretical performance curves, might be the single most honest thing Ferrari has done all season. Because in F1, the numbers mean nothing if the driver doesn't believe in the car underneath him. And right now, Ferrari is begging for belief. For Lewis Hamilton, belief isn't just a technical metric, it's the difference between fighting for titles and fading into irrelevance. Since joining Ferrari, his public tone has been composed, professional. But behind the curtain, that composure has been cracking. Montreal was the first time the mask slipped. After a violent lockup nearly sent him into a wall and damaged the very floor he's been quietly criticising for weeks, Hamilton's frustration broke through. It wasn't just about the moment. It was the culmination of 11 races spent trying to adapt to a car that refused to meet him halfway. His concerns about low-speed instability, inconsistent rear-end behaviour, and narrow grip windows weren't new, they were just unacknowledged. Until now. Sources close to the team say Hamilton's feedback after Imola was what finally pushed Maranello into admitting the SF25's core design was flawed. This flaw is, in many ways, his demand made real. But the emotional weight doesn't rest solely on him. Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's golden child, made the quiet but telling choice to hand over FP1 in Austria to rookie Diano Benovic. On the surface, it's a show of generosity. In truth, it speaks to a deeper fatigue, a psychological distancing from a car that has drained his optimism one race at a time. Leclerc has stopped trying to will this car into greatness. And Hamilton, despite all his professionalism, isn't hiding that this upgrade is a crossroads. Not just for Ferrari, but for the personal trajectories of two of the most talented drivers of their generation. If the car fails to deliver in Austria, it won't just be flaw data under scrutiny. It will be the emotional contract between team and driver. And right now, that contract is fraying at the edges. Mathematically, Ferrari still has a seat at the table, but they're running out of chips. After 11 rounds without a win, their position in both the constructors' and drivers' standings has transitioned from contender to desperate chaser. Red Bull's consistency, even when wounded, and McLaren's rapid rise have reshaped the upper tier of the championship. Ferrari's delta to the front isn't just measured in tenths anymore. It's in trust, in execution, in timing, and timing is no longer on their side. If this floor update doesn't produce immediate gains, the rest of the season becomes a salvage mission, not a campaign. Hamilton is too experienced to misread this. He's watching the points spread, calculating the diminishing return of loyalty versus results. Leclerc knows it too. The team's decision to prioritise this flaw as a prelude to Silverstone is coded language for urgency. They need it to work now, not later. With Mercedes finding form and Aston Martin showing flashes of pace, Ferrari's grip on third is even at risk. And the psychological math is even more severe. Every race the SF25 underdelivers compounds internal doubt, not just among drivers, but among engineers, strategists, even pit crews. Confidence, like championship leads, erodes quietly until it breaks. The Red Bull Ring, with its elevation shifts, heavy braking zones, and punishing traction demands, is the ideal stress test. If the upgrade fails here, there's nowhere left to hide. The numbers won't just expose Ferrari's deficit, they'll confirm that time has officially run out. Ferrari has danced with crisis before, but this one cuts deeper, because it's not just external pressure anymore, it's internal fracture. In the post-Schumacher era, the Scuderia has suffered from structural inertia, a resistance to innovation cloaked in reverence for legacy. That same resistance now threatens to derail its 2025 campaign entirely. Insiders in Maranello report a deepening rift between departments, those pushing for a Red Bull-style aerodynamic overhaul, and those clinging to traditional Ferrari mechanical grip principles. At the centre of this storm stands Fred Vasseur, trying to unify two clashing ideologies while the stopwatch ticks louder with every Grand Prix. Engineers like Diego Tondi and Loic Serra are reportedly working in silos, not by choice, but by necessity. Their attempts to push through a radical rethink of the SF25's platform were met with internal resistance for months. The new floor wasn't approved out of confidence, it was forced through because nothing else was working. One senior figure reportedly described the situation bluntly. "We're not fighting rivals anymore, we're fighting ghosts of our own past." It's a haunting diagnosis, but an accurate one. The last time Ferrari tried a mid-season conceptual shift this drastic was in 2016, and the fallout splintered their technical department for years. This flaw is more than carbon and airflow management. It's a referendum on Ferrari's ability to adapt in the modern era. Either the Scuderia learns to reinvent itself, or it remains shackled to a philosophy that no longer wins titles. Austria will not just test lap time, it will test whether Ferrari can evolve. And evolution in Formula One is not optional, it's survival. Fail here, and the story of 2025 becomes another chapter in the book Ferrari never meant to write, the slow erosion of its soul. If the flaw works, it buys Ferrari more than just lap time, it buys breathing room. But if it fails, the consequences will echo far beyond Spielberg. Silverstone looms just 1 week later, and with it, the first real validation point for 2026 development concepts. Every team on the grid is already deep into next year's car, and any misstep now risks compounding into a fundamental design flaw that could cripple 2 seasons instead of 1. That's why Ferrari's gamble is so stark. They're testing this flaw at a circuit that offers no hiding place. High altitude, low speed corners, and brutal surface evolution. There's nowhere to bluff your way through setup problems here. That's why Leclerc giving up FP1 wasn't a courtesy, it was a shield. A chance for Ferrari to run the numbers on Bainovic's car without risking Leclerc's confidence or Hamilton's patience. Because if this upgrade doesn't translate into clear, controllable performance improvements, it means their entire SF25 concept is irredeemable. And that would force a pivot so late in the development cycle, it could ruin 2026 before it starts. For Hamilton, that's existential. He didn't join Ferrari to become a rebuild project. He came to write a final chapter of glory. If Spielberg doesn't show promise, expect Hamilton's silence to break. And when it does, it won't be with radio frustration. It will be in meetings, in private ultimatums, in boardroom-level fallout. Austria is no longer a test. It's a technical deadline with legacy-sized consequences. When the lights go out in Austria, the battle won't just be on track. It will unfold in the silences, in the body language, in the pauses between team radio replies. Because this race is not about winning, it's about surviving. If Ferrari's floor upgrade fails under the pressure of Spielberg's demanding terrain, the damage won't simply be measured in lap times. It will fracture the already fragile bond between drivers and engineers, erode the trust between the garage and the pit wall, and trigger a chain reaction that Ferrari may not be structurally prepared to contain. For Leclerc, it risks turning his prime years into a cautionary tale. A generational talent shackled to a team unable to meet him in battle. For Hamilton, it threatens to stain the legacy of a 7-time world champion who dared to believe in the myth of Maranello, only to find it hollow when he needed it most. The paddock is watching, rivals smell blood, media analysts are sharpening their knives, and fans, especially the Tifosi, are starting to grieve what could have been. If this flaw fails, the SF25 becomes more than a misstep. It becomes a symbol, a red-clad relic of unrealized potential. But if it works, even partially, it could restore something rare in modern F1: belief. Belief in the project, in the drivers, in the direction. And belief in this sport is everything. Because once belief dies, no wind tunnel, no CFD simulation, no strategy genius can resurrect it. Ferrari isn't fighting for points this weekend. They're fighting for faith.